for coming this evening to the budget meeting. The way we're going to do it tonight is just speak about the items that have been increased and the increase overall for the assessments for the homeowners, obviously for your unit. Right now, the assessments are going to go up 3.5% per unit per month. And I assume you all have gotten it and looked at your assessment at the, okay? If you haven't, as I said,
You can have a copy.
You can have a
if
copy.
anybody needs one.
if anybody needs one. Again, it's going up 3.5%. So the biggest items you will see is not many things have gone up. We're just trying to fund more money to the reserves, obviously. Or it may not be obvious to some of you who are new owners. But that's the bulk of the increase is where it's going. As compared to 2019, it's going $20,000 additional to the reserves for 2020. Any other items that have been increased, we try to keep them the same and overall keep the operating expenses down or keep them the same as to where they've been. But anything that's increased has been, generally speaking, are things such as water or sewer, electric costs for OUC, things of that nature, roof repairs, those are actually going down, but the only roof repairs we've had or seen are buildings that have not been roofed, which would be 6 buildings that remain. And we did one roof so far this year in 2019, which is building 16 that just got completed. So those should be going down again as the years go, and those roof repairs will again decrease. But the other areas that have increased, exterior repairs on buildings, and insurance is going up a little bit. Again, we did have the insurance agent who did speak to that, and I will read what she did say, which is Nagar from Assured Partners. She said, the property insurance rates in the marketplace increased in general overall, and homeowners are likely to see increase in their insurance premiums as well. The past few years have been very hard on the property insurance in the marketplace with all of the premium, with the increase due to Michael, Matthew, Irma, Harvey, and Maria, and and the California wildfires. General liability rates are also increasing as lawsuits are getting bigger and carriers are losing more money than they have been collecting overall. That's just generally speaking. That was our agent from Assured Partners, spoke to the increase for insurance. So that's the increase that you'll see for insurance premiums. And again, I'm just going to speak to anything that's increased for the year. Here you go. Yeah, besides the reserves. Yeah. I gets it about the budget itself. Do you have any questions about a specific line item in the budget?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The first one is you're talking about increasing the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Last year you had approved for 2019, 275,000.
Mm-hmm.
This year you're going up to, well, you've got two proposed budgets, so which one are you proposing to go with?
The underfunded.
The under budget, so that's 295,000.
Correct.
According to this, by the end of the year, you only have 137,000 going to the reserves. So you had a budget this year of 275, but you're only putting in 137 this year. So you're about half the year behind on putting in reserves for this year.
Correct.
So why are you even considering changing anything if you can't even make 50% of what the reserves are now?
Well, the hope is that in 2020, we can get back to a more full funding, even though it's an underfunded reserve, that we'll be able to get back to that funding in 2020. That's the plan. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, I've got a few, so I'm sure
Okay.
other people do too.
Okay.
So, okay, getting back on, what happened to the gate, the front gate? $37,000 to replace the one that worked, and I see that this one's still not working. What's the problem with that?
Okay, so the directory box was replaced 6 weeks ago. The directory box itself, the board, the actual board itself went bad and had to be replaced, and we went with a new directory box. And the box and the programming took longer than we anticipated, and it's actually going to be closing next week. And that's what's going on.
Okay, but this is not months, this has been months, not weeks.
No, this has been 6 weeks, is how long it's been.
No, I think it's been longer than that.
It's
People
It's
here.
been longer than that. I have video of it.
It's been 6 or 7 weeks, and that's as long as it's been.
I got actually video
One
with it
one person at a
before.
time, please, because it's been, next week, this week actually is 7 weeks, excuse me. So next week will be 8 weeks, yeah. But no, what happened is, and like I said, the directory box had to be replaced, and then the programming had an issue with it, and so that's been done this week, and so we've got to send a second letter out to get people in the habit of off-peak hours to go check it, make sure they know how to use it. It's going to be a learning curve so people understand how to use it. Because we did actually close it when I said on October 14th it would be closed. And there was 2 errors that came up with the program. It's a brand new kind of system. So that system has now been, with the manufacturer Lanier, actually did the correction, and that will now has been addressed actually. It was actually tested today. And it is corrected, so it will be closed early next week. All the residents here are going to get a new letter to explain how to do it, and then go, try it out for themselves so they see how to use it. In off-peak hours, to test it themselves. So it was actually given a recommendation that we do a soft closing and keep it open during the peak hours and close it in off-peak hours so people get used to using the directory box. It's not an issue with people with transponders. It's an issue with people with the guest part, because it's mandatory for everyone to have a transponder on their vehicle. The part is when you have guests coming over. So that's the part that's been the issue. So.
The way I see it is, since they installed it, it only worked like a week or 2, and it's been broke ever since.
The directory box was just installed 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I'm just saying about
Yeah.
the gate itself,
Well-
always being broken.
Well, the gate, there's been no issue since the gates and the LED barrier arms were
Waste a
installed.
lot of money on
The-
something that's always repeats itself.
Well, the issue is the people, okay?
Yeah,
we're always gonna have- we're always gonna have people issue.
Yeah, we all.
Anywhere there's limited access, and gates, there's always gonna be people as issue.
I don't see a security guard anymore. And if I do see him, I don't see him where he gotta be.
Okay.
Well, where he's supposed to be. That's the way I see it.
So, thank you.
Okay, also you've got, you're saying you're going up 3.5%, but on the assistant, let's see, where's this? The part-time assistant, you're continuing with basically the same salary, but you're giving the manager a 5% increase. So you're actually increasing the manager more than you're increasing the association dues. So is there just, I don't know if anybody else would like to hear reason for that.
She's actually a full-time assistant, she's not part-time, and do you want me to justify my salary?
Yes.
Okay, I'll justify it. I'm on call 24/7. I get more than 40 calls a month, all hours of the night, because of the increase in pipe leaks there are here. I sometimes on a Saturday spend 6 hours dealing with leaks here. Okay, I'm salaried, and that's why it's usually a 3% increase, and 5% is what I requested.
Why should it be 3% though?
Okay, I'm sorry, what
Why
did you say?
should it be 3%?
Why wouldn't you keep it at the same amount you're raising the association dues? Instead of giving yourself a raise for almost twice as much as what you're raising everybody's dues.
Are we talking about another increase besides the one that came up last year? Because I used to pay $350, now I'm paying $370 for 2-bedroom.
Yes.
Is it getting another increase
Yes.
besides that?
Yes,
Wow, you running the owners out of here. Because I'm an owner, I don't pay no, I'm owner. But I don't feel like an owner because if I don't pay that monthly fee, your guys are sending me a lien. And I got my nerve, already shaking already. So how much more is gonna go up in a period of what? Another 10 years that I've been living here.
That's why we relook at the budget every year.
Yeah, but last year it went up $20. $350
Okay,
to
but prior
$70.
to that, you hadn't had any.
And y'all don't hesitate to give me that late fee charges and all that
Because we
stuff.
have any increases, we have to.
If that even costs us more because they use a $400 an hour.
We have increases, that's right.
I got that very clear.
Well, now you're saying that, since we
I mean,
didn't have
costs
an
do
increase
go up.
3 years ago, well, you're gonna give it to us now.
Well, I think that I tried to, with the manager, to keep the budget the same for many years, which we did. But yes, there are reasons to increase the fees. And so that's why we're here to talk about it. I'm sorry that, nobody likes the fees to go up. I can understand that. But it doesn't mean that it isn't what should be happening. We still have to take care of the condominium as best we can. So that does
We're
mean.
not getting the things that we're supposed to be getting, the way.
It's one of those fees, the lawyer fees, because you budgeted the same amount next year, yet for 6 months, you're almost blowing out the budget for legal services or receiver legal fees. I mean, you're at $50K on that. So how
So
can you even project out the same amount next year when you're already at 6 months, almost to the budget or the amount budget for the entire year? That makes no sense.
Well, it just depends on what happens moving forward. I mean, as many legal fees as the association, like if we have court, if we have things in regard to collection. Don't forget, when we do collect back, then that money that's collected does go back against the legal fee because the homeowner pays that. So that's why I can keep that number generally down, because we have been able to collect so much.
Yeah, but
yes, there are
I've
costs.
also been in court over the pool, okay? I sat there with the judge, and you have attorney trying, and the judge says, do this, and we're paying, and you never did answer me when I sent an email. I actually filed with the court that I want to know, we should know how much is being spent, like for that contract, as far as my contractor debating that contract. How much do we spend on attorney fees on that? Because we don't get that back. We pay for that. And yet, here we go. There's no pool.
We need a response because you never respond.
Yeah, it comes out of the.
I filed a motion to compel, which because you never did respond to that. I don't understand why you couldn't respond to how much you spent on that. Because I sat there and wasted, I mean, time, and time's precious. We didn't get anywhere with the pool, even though the judge said, hey, go with this company. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. And then, so we go to the budget and you have the attorney's fees being the same, right? No increase, yet you're already at 30,000 for 6 months and was 34 budgeted and 24, you're at 20. And I don't even know what's gonna come out for the rest of the 6 months.
Because
I'm sure
I'm
you don't.
hopeful that in 2020, we won't be going to court as much as we have in 2019. And so I'm basing my 2020 budget on what our projection is for 2020. So that's why I came up with those numbers.
And
So
why
this
didn't
is
we
all
get
gonna
response?
be, yeah, how is that, could that be? I mean, we're still going to court over this pool hall thing. How's this gonna be resolved between now and the end of the year when we have a contract?
I answered the question as best I can.
Okay.
Anything else?
Regarding the budget,
Here, we're talking about the budget. Any questions in regard to the budget?
You got some-
Okay.
It says here that the budget was approved on last year. Who approved it?
We approved it at the budget meeting
I
last
just
year.
thought there was no board in it.
Oh, no, the board approves it and I constitute the board. I approved it. Like I have the years before when you've been here?
That's supposed to be approved by all the,
No, that's not true. It's approved by the board and I constitute the board.
well, this first time I hear that.
I was just trying to answer your question.
I have something here. In your expense report, most of the expense is your lawyer's expense. So I think we don't need it, we don't need we use the lawyers.
Every time, yeah.
Something here. In your expense report, most of the expense is your lawyer's expense. So I think we don't need it, we don't need we use the lawyers.
Every time, yeah.
We save some money on that.
we
Oh,
need to
I'm
say
sure.
it on the budget.
If there wasn't a receiver, you could save some money on that.
I don't know.
We would
Okay.
say all of it, yeah.
Okay, that brings up a point here. When I went to these numerous hearings with the judge said, I said, well, how do we get out of this receivership? And the judge said, well, you guys have to get together and do something. Well, we try to get together and actually communicate with other owners, and this was a couple weekends ago, and then security guard came and called the cops, so we called the cops. And then so we tried to put some signs up to get people together, those were taken down. And kind of interesting, this morning, there was a sign put up that actually stated, its exact sign that you posted above the mail boxes, stating there's a meeting today. Well, guess what? That sign was there for about a couple hours and it was gone.
Is there a question on the budget?
Well, no, this has to do why
That's
it
specifically
seems
for the
like you're
budget, yeah.
trying to prevent the owners from getting together so that we can actually vote and get out of receivership? Or is receivership supposed to be a permanent situation where the state
Absolutely.
overlooks us and you have all the power?
Why was the sign removed?
Hang on, this is one question at a time. In regard to the notices were sent out by mail to the membership. The ones that were posted in the normal conspicuous places so that owners would be able to see it were kept up. When people put things up or put signs up that haven't been approved by the management office or the receiver, they will be taken down.
So your sign that actually took a photocopy of the sign and put the sign up, which was approved, was taken down because it's not approved? Doesn't even make sense.
It was not.
Every place I've been to where you have an association or homeowners, you usually will have a sign as you come into the complex, not just an obscure little area above people's heads they don't even look at. It's supposed to be conspicuous, as by state law. That was a sign that was conspicuous. It was your sign. Why was it removed? There just seems to be this thing where you're just trying to prevent the people from getting together here. How are we ever gonna get out of receivership if we can't get together?
part of how I feel about it is that we have communicated with you, and we have told you that you do need, if you want a sign posted, you need to come to the office and get approval, and you continue to do things without talking to the office. I'm not trying to take down or stop people from having information. We mailed this out. People have the information. We posted it all.
Yeah, I know, that's the minimum
Can you
based
please
on.
let me finish?
No, go ahead.
So we went ahead and posted where we have posted for the last however many years, and that's what we did. We took down that sign because it wasn't approved through the office, and quite honestly, it even talks about in the declaration that you're not just supposed to put signs up on the common
It's
property.
the same sign that
It
you
doesn't matter, that's
have.
what I'm trying to say. That's
Yes, it
what-
does matter, it's your sign, it's approved.
It was
okay?
not approved.
It wasn't approved.
It's your sign, it's the exact copy of your sign.
George,
I know what you're doing, okay, it's pretty obvious what's going on here, that it seems like you're trying to prevent the owners from being together. I mean, just, then great, next time, we're gonna run the sign, we're gonna make sure that we have a lawyer come with us, and we're gonna sit in front of you and say, hey, this is your sign, we wanna put it up and see what you say. Because that's just ridiculous. The judge told me to get in contact with other owners, and it just can't happen.
Ken, did you have any other questions in regard to the budget?
Well, it just goes back to, we've been talking about this pool project, and you were talking about the attorneys, and we spent a lot of time, which I refuted, to use reserve funds to pay for the pool, because you had, at that time, almost enough money to pay for the pool problem in the operating account. And now you're raising the reserves because you only you only put in 50% of what you had proposed this year. And you got the judge to approve to use almost every dollar that we had left in the reserves to repair the pool.
That's actually not true. We're using money from the operating account, we're leaving $90,000 in there. And then if there is an overage that we cannot pay through the operating account, we have been granted permission by the
But
judge.
it's not
to
$90,000. What's the total you're at right now?
In our operating
No,
account,
what's the total for fixing the pool right now?
around $284,000,
And how much do you have in the reserve account?
over 320,
Okay, and how much do you have in the operating account?
over 200.
Did you sell another property?
No, we did not.
Okay, so you've got 110 that you can use out of the operating account, and the balance, which would be 220.
Which can go
Would have
up
to
each
go
month
back.
with collection.
I'm sorry?
And the amount that we would keep in the operating account can go up each month as we're continuing to collect fees. We're holding a little bit, and we discussed this, we're holding a little extra in that operating account to try and pay for the wall out of the operating account so that we barely have to, if any at all, dip into the reserves. That is what I would prefer. The situation was that because of that was why I was not paying the reserve account. Just because we haven't been able to fund exactly what we asked for the budget.
Yeah, but now you owe $137,000 to the
Yes, but
operating
when
account.
I started here, we owed, the operating account owed the reserve hundreds of thousands of dollars, more than
Yeah,
it
that was
made
10
you now.
years ago.
And I collected that
10
money.
years ago.
And
This
I
this
paid
is
collect-
today. We're
Okay,
not talking
that's
about
my
10
answer.
years ago.
Thank you. Were there any other questions in regard to the budget?
Yeah, why so much money in the tennis court? Why?
You know what?
The tennis court?
Tennis
The
court.
tennis court, the fence and the surface needs to be resurfaced. It needs to
But
be
we're not
resurfaced.
doing that
We're not
until
doing
after
it
that, until we do the.
We're changing the wall.
Okay, I have another question. How you guys came up with your salaries? Like, what are your qualifications to be here? Like your degree? Because I see your salaries are very, very high, and I would like to know why. On-site manager is making more than me, and I have a master's degree, and I bust my butt every day, so I'm wondering, how can I get where you are?
Besides that, you 24 hour on call.
Exactly.
I wanna make that clear, that you made it clear a while ago.
I have a license, a community station manager. I've had it since 2006. I've been in property management for 21 years. Okay.
And so who decides why you got, like, who decides why you guys, for example, why you still here? Because 5 years ago, you give me your word that you were leaving in 2 years when I asked you to leave last meeting
I
that
wasn't
was-
here 5
No,
years
I'm
ago.
talking to her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 5 years ago, you told me, you look at my eyes and I asked you, please leave us, let us have
Because
control.
the judge has
And you
continued-
give me the word
because
that you were leaving in 2 years.
The judge
No,
makes
because
it,
you paid attorneys $400 an hour, plus another one at $300 an hour to fight the owners who were asking for
Thank you.
an
That's why we
election
broke.
of a board of directors. There was an election for a board of directors, and you continued to pay $400 an hour for Robert Anthony and $300 an hour for Lackland to fight the owners to stay in power.
Actually, that is not correct. What happened was.
You can look it up in the
Yes, you
record.
can, Kent, and you can find out that the judge said that your election was invalid.
No, she
which is-
didn't.
Yes, she
No,
did.
No, she didn't.
You
Go
can look
back
at the
and
court
read.
record.
I do have the record, and I
Okay.
know it for a fact. What she said is we could not prove that we had a legitimate election.
No, it was
But-
not a legitimate
No,
election.
that's incorrect.
I
In,
disagree.
in fact, Lackland and your attorney is wrong. Y'all just were able to
And the judge
convince the
has
judge at
continued.
that time.
We presented the facts. We didn't do anything more than that. That was the decision by the judge. Were there any other questions? in
Yeah,
regard to
I
the
just
budget?
wanna stand here and ask you one more time. Can you please leave and
I will
let
leave when
us
the-
take
Please,
control of our
please.
place? You
Okay.
don't live here. You're not here every day.
Do you
You
want me to
have not
answer your
gone
question?
through what I have gone through. There's not a place where my daughter can play. There's not a place where my daughter can swim. I'm uncomfortable. I feel unsafe. We've been robbed twice. Nothing is going on. So once again, I'm looking at you like you did 5 years ago. You told me I'm gonna stay here just 2 more years, and you stay here. We
My-
don't want you here.
You gotta-
You're taking a
Would you
lot
like
of
to hear
us,
the
a lot
answer?
of us money.
You got-
Please
Okay.
go and let us have control of our place.
You gotta follow with the
Would you
court
like
too,
to
because I've sat
actually
with the,
hear my
with the
answer?
judge on this and
You
and people
can, the
have to
same
get
authority you
involved,
gave
because
me
it's a
5 years
farce.
ago, that you wanna
The
work and you wanna leave
situation
everything there.
that you are talking about, I'm sorry that you feel unsafe. Truly, I do. The thing is whether I'm the receiver or there is a homeowner board, many of the situations that you have here today will continue.
Yeah,
So-
but I'm
Yeah,
tired,
but we
I'm
have
tired of
all
your
that money
promises,
we
I'm
paid you,
tired,
they
I'm
can probably
tired.
make it
All
on
right,
that.
okay, thank
Go
you.
away.
I will leave when the judge tells me to leave. Thank you.
Okay, I have one more.
Well,
Real
paying
quick.
so many lawyers, of
Okay.
course, you're gonna
I'm a
stay.
new homeowner here, just got in in June, just happy to be at my very first HOA meeting. I just wanted to know, a quick little explanation of why we are receivership and what your job is. I know you're the property manager, what your job is, and how would you, like, is any of your jobs to help us get out of the situation we're in that's making everybody happy, and how can we
She's
do
been
that
trying
going
for
forward?
10 years.
absolutely.
She has been here for 10 years.
The situation is when the association went into receivership, huge financial situation in regard to, a negative financial situation. There was basically about $8,000 in the bank account. You know, trying to build that back up, collect fees, foreclose on units that need to be foreclosed on, do some of the other work around here. That does not happen overnight. It took years and years and years. And so basically what my job is I constitute the board of directors. And so as the board of directors, I help make the decisions for the association based on the best business decisions that I can make. I have over 30 years in property management, association management. I'm a licensed CAM as well, but that's not part of what I do for this association. That's what you have Kim for. You have an on-site manager. Yes, her rate, depending on what you're comparing it to, might seem high to you. But I can tell you that in this industry, which is association management, on-site managers make as much as her, if not quite a bit more. So although I can understand the concern, and we really do try and watch those type of things, but there is an experience and an expertise that she brings to the table. The same thing is true with me. But basically I constitute the board of directors. How I'm trying to help the association move forward, get out of receivership has to do with major projects that we're trying to get accomplished. Part of that is funding the reserves. He's not wrong. We need to fund the reserves, but unfortunately, it just hasn't been as easy. You know, part of what people forget, yes, it may have been a long time, but they don't truly understand the day-to-day of what at least I've seen. You know, I don't really know if anyone here was an owner at the time that the association went into receivership, but a lot of different things happened even in the real estate market. You know, now units sell in here for well over $100,000.
that's awesome. That means values are coming out. But it doesn't mean that there isn't the day-to-day with painting and leaks and drywall repair and, roofing and the gates and the asphalt and the landscape. I mean, you can see, your budget is all the other stuff. So
That's a normal
what,
meeting though.
what, absolutely.
I understand.
That's
So
not-
how do we get,
I'm trying to answer, I don't do that to you.
so everybody's kind of unhappy it seems, so how do we get us as homeowners to be happy again? Like, what do we need to do?
It's been 10
Continue to
years.
collect, and unfortunately, that does mean that we have to raise fees to continue to collect, to be able to pay for, to finish out the 6 roofs that need to be done, to do the, to deal with the piping that's in the walls that is polybutylene pipe management, association management. I'm a licensed CAM as well, but that's not part of what I do for this association. That's what you have Kim for. You have an on-site manager. Yes, her rate, depending on what you're comparing it to, might seem high to you. But I can tell you that in this industry, which is association management, on-site managers make as much as her, if not quite a bit more. So although I can understand the concern, and we really do try and watch those type of things, but there is an experience and an expertise that she brings to the table. The same thing is true with me. But basically, I constitute the board of directors. How I'm trying to help the association move forward, get out of receivership, has to do with major projects that we're trying to get accomplished. Part of that is funding the reserves. He's not wrong. We need to fund the reserves, but unfortunately, it just hasn't been as easy. Part of what people forget, yes, it may have been a long time, but they don't truly understand the day-to-day of what at least I've seen. I don't really know if anyone here was an owner at the time that the association went into receivership, but a lot of different things happened even in the real estate market. Now units sell in here for well over $100,000. That's awesome. That means values are coming out. But it doesn't mean that there isn't the day-to-day with painting and leaks and drywall repair and, roofing and the gates and the asphalt and the landscaping. I mean, you can see, your budget is all the other stuff. So
That's a normal meeting though.
Absolutely.
I understand.
That's
So
not-
how do we get,
I'm trying to answer, I don't do that to you.
so everybody's kind of unhappy it seems, so how do we get us as homeowners to be happy again? And what do we need to do?
It's been 10
Continue to
years.
collect, and unfortunately, that does mean that we have to raise fees to continue to collect, to be able to pay for, to finish out the 6 roofs that need to be done, to do the, to deal with the piping that's in the walls that is polybutylene pipe and is known to pinhole leaks, which cause major leaks in some units and destruction to the drywall. And also, we do have an issue with the retaining wall. The reason the pool isn't open isn't because we don't want it to be open. We want it to be open. It is not open because of the fact that the engineer, who's an expert in his field, the judge agreed with, that the wall, we don't know when it would fall. But if we continue to leave it open, the pressure on the pool and everything around it with people being in the pool made it an unsafe situation. So in that instance, I have to come in with the best business decision, which is we need to follow the experts' advice and close that pool. There is a second pool, so there is a pool for any of you to swim in, take your children or friends or whatever. But this particular pool is on hold until the situation gets resolved and the retaining wall gets fixed, and then the pool will open back up.
So how do we move from, you don't have to do this for us, Laura, we can do it now that everything's kind of normalized now? Is there a way that we can get control now that?
That's
How
part
do
of
we do
what's
that?
been discussed in court, and the judge has decided that she believes it should stay in receivership.
Yeah, but the
So
judge
that's-
doesn't, if the owners get all together, the judge has no power on that if we're, that's,
So can you help
I mean,
us
there is
get
a Fifth
together and
Amendment.
The judge makes the decision.
Yeah, but he's saying that if everybody gets together and approach gets the judge, is there something that you're supposed to also be helping us do?
Because that's not exactly, that's not.
Show
No,
them how.
let's put it this way, okay? For instance, in this pool situation, I sat there and battled them on this to get this done, okay? And what
He's talking.
and what basically happened was this pool was supposed to collapse 2 years ago or whatever. So we saw this one bid from them, which is the same people they always use. They use an overseer, they use the same contractor, they use an attorney and all this. and it was like some ridiculous amount of money. You're supposed to legally get 2 bids, so we fought it, found somebody to do it that works with the government and Walmart, you know, big companies. Saved almost $100,000, and then all of a sudden, they went back and forth. They went back and forth, that what the judge said, do it, and it's still nothing was done, because it's like, unless it's within this little group of people, nothing gets done. So we're sitting here still without a pool, even though we sat and wasted time in front of the judge. So tell me how we're ever gonna get out of receivership with that type of
We're gonna
situation.
continue
going
to
on.
get out of receivership as we continue to collect, we finish the roofs, we handle the retaining wall, and we get the plumbing handled. Once that's done, I'm sure she'll let you out. She may let you out sooner,
But
but
it's not
as of
gonna
right now, that's
happen
the
with these
decision,
legal
George.
fees and all this unless you jack up prices tremendously and keep this the same. If you just, it's math.
What's the
I
time?
know, it's just,
If they're
it's
trying to, you have a
ridiculous.
budget, you have a spend, you know what you're gonna spend every month on everything. There's no real surprises here anymore except for what we know, right? So what's the projected ETA of when each of these things are gonna be fixed? And then we can proceed to do what we get out of the receivership.
I don't have a crystal ball, I can't make that.
But you have something, money that comes in every month, right? Any
Which is
production,
fine,
Right,
that's why there's a budget, that's
Those
why
are the
there's a
people that
budget.
work with the
and you
books.
get money, you get money in and money goes out, right? So
Yes, we take care of the work
So
that
you
needs to
should
be
be able
done.
to project for the next 2 years what's really gonna happen, how much is gonna come in and go out, so you should be able to tell us, project it.
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, I got 2 more questions really quick. Number 1, on the income, we talk about all the rental properties, there's no rental income listed on here. That
We
should be on.
discussed that before, it's not rental income, it is paying down the past 2 balances. We only have 5
But it
units.
still comes in as income.
It is not rental income, because if it was rental income, we would have to pay property taxes on it.
And then one other item is for $24,000 for the receiver. It's slash receipt legal fees, but you're not a lawyer, right? So you're just a receiver.
I am.
Okay, so that should just be a receiver, not legal fees. So $24,000 on your budget, but you've already spent $20,000, so you're proposing to spend $40,000 for the year. So you're not staying within your budget on your own personal salary. And
Well,
how often do you own the property?
I probably come to the property at least once a month, sometimes more.
Okay, so once a month at $40,000 a year, that's not
There's
too
a
bad.
lot of different things that I
We
do
all
come
have
to
to
the
have
property.
to be received.
Were there any other questions regarding the budget?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The trees and the.
I just cannot understand, in 2019, and we can't get a freaking pool going, and we don't have that gate going, and you don't know who comes in here. And
Well,
I just don't understand, there's so much money in here, in the year 2019, we can't get something fixed.
We can,
I-
she explained it to you.
I have. That's not
And we
fixing.
do have a plan to fix the
Because
retaining wall.
they want for everything, but nothing's done.
But there's plenty of things that have been accomplished. I can't guarantee anything.
Can
but
you
I'm
give
working
us an
as hard
example,
as I
please?
can
You know,
for getting these things accomplished. I'm sorry you're disappointed.
it's very disappointing.
Okay.
And then the monthly ratings just keep going up. Those rows are terrible. You know, I don't know what that even do.
Again, it's, you have to understand, we only have so much money, so you have to figure out what your priorities are. And part of what the priorities are the building envelope, and the roof is part of that. And it also has to do with the leaks that come from like I said, the polyethylene pipes. There are many things that we have accomplished. We've done painting, we've done other work within the community over all these last years. But right now, the situation that we're in, we only have so much money to put toward each individual item that needs to be done. And everything always feels like everything's a priority. We do the best we can to try and prioritize the priorities. And that's part of why we haven't been able to fully fund the reserves.
I have a question. You
Well,
said that
got
you accomplished
another-
things.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can you give me an example of things that you have accomplished here?
That you have accomplished?
Yes, that you just said that.
Of what you.
The roofing of the 11 buildings, including the clubhouse, the painting of all the buildings.
The painting of the last time the building got painted, because I've been here for 7 years and I haven't seen the building get painted or anything like that. Also, I see here that you have done pest control, pest services, and I have roaches on the buildings, I have scent catchers, I have
Okay, anything interior on the building?
outside.
Okay.
And I've been calling Mace, and the front doesn't go away. I have roaches inside the apartment because they keep coming in.
Okay, well, Roaches that are wood roaches or roaches that have to do with something else?
Well, roaches in the building that are coming inside the unit.
Okay, if they're wood roaches from the trees or things like that, that is pretty difficult to keep out. And then other roaches that typically start inside the building would be each homeowner's responsibility, so.
Well, I've been doing this here on my side, I see roaches on the building, I don't see no mosaic, basically,
They do exterior of the building. I mean, they do the exterior of the building.
well,
Quarterly.
whatever they're doing is not working.
Email me your, situation. We'll look into it.
It is not working, and the painting, I don't know when was the last time it was painted, because I've been here 7 years, and
I'm
7
pretty
years.
sure within
Yeah,
7
it's
years
been
and a
around
half,
7.
absolutely.
And excuse me, I wasn't satisfied with your response, so you said that you accomplished what, paint and what else?
I don't have a list in front of me, but I'd be happy to create one and get it to you.
I would love to.
Okay. There's no other, go ahead.
You have tree starts and plants going up like $8,000. Is that correct? Is that right? Is it necessary? 13,000 plants? And we only spent like $200 already? I'm not sure I understand that.
That's to do a couple exterior buildings. We usually try to do a couple buildings a year to do the exterior, adding, like we've done 1 through 8, the exterior upgrades, and that's to do a couple, at least up to 4 buildings exterior, and the, excuse me,
Because of the
the,
fact, you know, that
the
people
plants
would like to
upgrade.
see.
yeah, upgrade the
None
exterior
was done this year.
for 19.
None was done this year.
No,
No.
everything's been put on hold, trying to get some of the other things accomplished.
Right.
Okay.
Just a comment, making all this money that you're making and responsible, you should know, not having to go to retrieve the information somewhere else, what you've done here.
Thank you.
And
If
also,
there's-
sorry, we have 4,000 for taxes, association property and income tax. Why didn't you have that last, or why wasn't that on the budget last year? Is that something new?
Must have been, I don't know.
We had to pay taxes, we had to pay taxes this year.
Is that the first time you paid it?
I can only speak to this year. I mean, prior years, I'd have to go back and look.
Because what the situation is on some of the units that the association holds title to, we had to pay taxes on the units that the association fully owns, and we did sell one.
Yeah.
So we did have to pay some taxes, and I'm hopeful that, you know, if we can, we have no other units that the association holds title and completely owns, because we could try and sell it. But we put money in there for taxes just in case we would have to pay for anything up until those units get sold.
How many units does the association?
We currently have 5. I'm gonna go ahead and
Now,
approve.
I got one more thing, in the reserve calculation, we talked about this before, but on the plumbing, the $933,000 you've got listed, does that include redoing every single unit, or does that include only the part that the association is responsible for?
My understanding, what?
Um,
I can double check it, but my understanding was, the part that the association was responsible for.
I think
Don't
that goes back to, because you never gave me a copy of a quote. The only quote you ever had on this, if you want to correct me, I'd like a copy of it, but was from the reserve study analysis that was done when we went to court. And it had basically $1 million, and that included redoing every single unit, plus what the association was responsible for.
Okay.
So that number should actually be to cover just what the association is responsible for, and not every unit, because most of the unit owners have already changed out their units.
I would probably beg to differ, but I hope you're right.
no.
What my recollection is, which I can double check and you can look into it, had to do with the association responsibility to the plumbing, but don't forget, to get to the plumbing, you have to cut through the wall. And we did get at least 3 bids that we had forwarded on to the reserve people to, that we had gone out to bid on the piping itself, on the plumbing itself, not piping.
But did that include just what the association was responsible for, or did that include the units also?
No, it
Because
just,
when we went to court, you told the judge that included all of the units and the, what
Okay,
was the
my
association?
understanding and what I remember even writing in my receiver report is that there's the cost to the association for the main lines, and that the individual lines for each unit owner, that they would pay for that. So part of the coordination of doing the repiping of the building has to do with owners who haven't already upgraded their pipes that are their responsibility. But it does include the drywall, et cetera, but we can double check on that and get back to you.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy. of
Okay.
that. And then you've got the other reserves, which is $1.6 million. Florida statutes requires you to have reserves for roof, paint, roads, and that's basically it. And you've got a couple others, which is good, fire protection, etc. But the other reserves, $1.6 million, what does that include? That's not required, and I don't know what we have out here that's $1.6 million.
If you'd like a copy of the research study, you can look at it.
No, I'm asking in front of the group here. I'm sure anybody else like to know
Well,
what
there's over how many
1.6
components?
million, because if you take that off the reserve study, it drops your
Everything in
monthly
the
payment
clubhouse,
significantly.
everything in the,
We try to put as much information from the reserve study, because of questions like this, back into the budget itself. You are correct, the minimum requirements are roads, roofing, painting, and I'm not sure.
There's only 3 that's
Okay.
required by the
But
state.
it doesn't mean that because we have this reserve study and these components are discussed within here, that we're trying to cover for those things, because you still need to reserve for them.
Okay.
Not every association only has roof, paving, and painting. So we try to put the other things to
Well, you
comply
have pools,
with what the
so,
reserve
so
study is.
most condominiums have it for pools, which you have it here. Fire protection is good, we've had it in others. The plumbing, you've got a different situation. But other reserves, if I remember that reserve study, if you go through, it's like hand railing,
We did not put everything, but we put in the main components that were over $10,000 into the budget for reserve.
okay, but most of that gets taken care of out of the operating account.
Not
Unless you can-
necessarily. Depends on what it is.
Okay, but you don't need it, and it's $1.6 million. How much would that reduce the association, the payments to everybody?
I did the best business practices, which is based upon this reserve study.
Okay, does anybody else want to know what that includes, the $1.6 million?
Yes.
every light pole, everything, the gate, everything in this building,
Yes, everything.
okay? I mean, all the pool components, everything,
You have a pool
The-
line item, so that doesn't
Pool?
include the pool.
Exactly. You cannot tell.
Light posts, if somebody runs over a light post, you use operating funds.
Yeah.
If somebody busts a
maintenance,
light,
all the maintenance, utility vehicles,
I don't think a utility bill would be considered something.
golf cart, I'm talking about the golf cart, of
Well,
course.
you get
This is not
2,000 for that.
repairs,
That's
we're
actually
talking
in the
complete
golf cart.
Complete replacement, okay? Pool decks, we're finishing.
Pool's already in there.
This is what the other reserves say, I'm just telling you what it says.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. You shouldn't have it in other reserves because it's already covered. So you're
Exactly.
overstating
Gates.
you're overstating what you need to have in reserves significantly.
I disagree. I think that we are trying to make sure that we state what needs to be done here so that people have a better understanding of that there's more components than just paving, painting, and roofs.
Yeah, but that's all part of the operating.
Signage,
It's really-
fountains, I'm sorry, I'm gonna,
I have 50 condominiums in Orlando, and it goes in about 10, 12 different condominium associations. Nobody has other reserves at $1.6 million.
Jesse, would you like to speak to that?
there's 6, by the way, 6 air conditioners in this building, just so everybody understands that.
Okay, usually you have an HVAC reserve, which separates that, but you don't
Okay.
have that in here.
So,
This could be part of general. I would tell you that I've been involved in several different condominium communities here in Florida, in Central Florida, and many of them have more components than just paving, roofs, and
Well, yeah, all of them have something extra.
Exactly.
I'm just questioning $1.6 million.
Because I have to
And the
base
other
it off,
reserves.
because I have to base it off the reserve study. That's my
Also,
timeline.
the stairs in every building, also.
What about the state?
I'm gonna go ahead
The
and
stairs?
approve the budget at 3.5%. Tim will do the paperwork, you will be mailed out your, coupon books, et cetera.
This place is abandoned.
Oh, it's not a vote thing?
I'm sorry?
It's not a vote thing? It's not a vote thing?
No,
Right?
thank
No.
No, this is-
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah,
We
this
just
is,
asked
yeah,
any
this is,
questions
this is
you
the
have.
key, this is kind of like China.
I have a question. Why are we paying lawyers for?
To do legal work?
To keep
To
owners
be,
from
okay, are we,
creating a board.
let me, because I
Do we
don't
have a lawyer
understand.
present here that
I
is?
don't even have.
So we'd have to pay for it.
So
think she
are
got a
we
lawyer.
paying for your lawyers to defend you in court for you not to leave us?
Yes.
Instead of using all that money towards our place?
Exactly.
Well, another thing too, look at every one of these little contracts they do. They can do something for like $5,000 or whatever, and they have the same, they have three
Same
different
company.
But it
parties.
doesn't make
No, but they have a
sense.
lawyer
It doesn't
too
make
to do it
sense.
also. A
That-
lawyer to file like a document or a permit. I mean, things that you would never do for a lawyer, especially a community that doesn't have that much money. So the lawyer's built into every aspect, any movement at all, at least what's
Actually,
shown
that's
by.
Well, it
I'm
doesn't
trying
make
to
sense for
be
me that we
fair
are
to
so
the
short
law.
in money and we can have pool and
Yes.
stuff like that, but we're paying for a lawyer to go to court and defend this lady who wants to stay here
Yes.
and make decisions instead of me making decisions.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming, the
Thank
budget
you.
meeting is adjourned.
Appreciate your help. You overdoing your time.
Why do we have a meeting? We don't know.